Hello, my name is Mirella and I'm a high school teacher here in Denmark for the students who are from 16, 17 years to 19 years old, 3 years of gymnasium. This video is about inclusion and it's about migration and how we are dealing with it in our teaching rooms. First in history teaching, but also in teaching at all. I'm math and history teacher. This is why you will see both math and history inclusion in the classes. I actually asked my students to do it. Two of the classes that I have, one is history class. This is the first one that you are seeing. And then another one is actually a small group of math students in math. So you need to know that they are second year of high school. That means that they are around 17 years now, and all of the video that they actually did is by themselves done. So I instructed them how to, what to think, what to reflect on about inclusion and migration, but actually it's their own doing. So we hope that they got it, or that you think that they got it. Okay. I would like to say one more thing about it. It's that in Denmark it's very normal to work a lot about inclusion, both on the school level, and this is what students are in the beginning trying to show. How we are actually doing it, because a lot of our work is outside of the classroom in the school area, also outside of school area, but because of the weather we don't have so much possibility to do it outside, so it's much more inside. But you can see the furniture and how we are actually connecting it to each other. And then again, it's inclusion for the school is about inclusion in the class, yes, but it's also about inclusion on the different levels of first year students, second year students, or at whole school. And this is something what students are talking about. Another thing is, as a teacher, I work a lot, or my colleagues also, of course, they're working a lot about inclusion on different ways in the classroom. And it would be very nice, it would be very often that we are actually choosing a lot of different groups, maybe two different groups that one student needs to be the part of in one lesson, and next time it's also next group and next group and next group. And for me it will always be a random figured out how we are actually making those groups. I know that there are a lot of people, a lot of teachers who are actually working with to trying to find out their knowledge level and then put them in the groups that they actually can explain to each other better. But I'm not really using that one, because I think that students are very well aware of which level they are on. And then if you're putting them always in the same groups where they are feeling that there is somebody who needs to explain them, then they don't need, if they are weak student, they don't need to explain. And that for me is showing actually that we don't expect them to be better. So for me it's about making a random groups so they actually working on that they need also to explain it. It can be that they are not very good explanation, then they can also get something back, but that they are also a part of active working. So this is one thing. Another thing, what I'm working in the classroom is if they are doing the videos, if they are doing small tasks in the knowledge, it's always in the small groups, so they are also the part of it, yeah. And also physical activity, that if you have 65 minutes, it's impossible to think that they are always in 65 minutes able to sit down and watch a teacher and trying to figure it out and concentrating so long time. So for me it's also about breaking down in the smaller pieces, that one task is maybe only 20-25 minutes max, so that they actually can get up, choose, do some brain breaks physically. We can do some of them at our gathering, but also about maybe going out and doing something with the blackboards that you will see in the video. Yes, I think that was something what I actually wanted to say. Yes, and maybe that last part of the students, I chose the 2 students to do interview about migration, and what would it say to be a student with another background than original Danish, how it feels and how do you work with it. For our case, it's of course understanding how we as a teachers are working with it, or schools are working with it, or should work with it. But this is also the view from the student side. Thank you a lot.
Hello, I'd like to talk about the physical aspects of inclusion here at our school that we use both in the breaks we have, but also in classes. And one of them are these round tables here that promote inclusion, face-to-face relations, and discussion. Here's some of my classmates using it right now, for example. And then we're going to go on to another aspect right here.
Here at the school we also have a lot of games we can use because everybody understands games and therefore it's easier to learn each other to know and to communicate with each other.
So in our breaks, we tend to play table tennis. It's a great activity to do with you and your friends, and to include others. And it's very enlightening, and it freshens us up so that we are ready to the classes afterwards.
Yeah. So in our halls, we have these whiteboards that we can use to, for example, our history classes. Right here, you can, for example, see that he's about to make a timeline of the French Revolution. So, quite smart.
Yeah, so here at the school we also have couches, so we can work in a very relaxed environment.
So we have musicals which are for everybody across the school, for all grades and for all years. And every year there's a different musical, and then they have weekends where they, train and rehearse the musical, and that's so much fun because they meet everyone across all of the school and all of the years and all of the grades, and that's like a really good way for everybody to become inclusive in the school and become like friends with everyone. We also have another school around in the area, and sometimes we compete with the school in different games, and we play along internally in the school too. And this is something that the students arrange.
Yeah, so we play football and handball right over there at the football stadium. And the school likes us to have an active lifestyle, so therefore they don't force us to do, but they really want us to do. So they like to do messages towards us, but they tell us to join.
At our school we also have brain breaks.
A brain break is just a short activity in class
to help your learning.
So in here we have Lena, she's our study coach, and she helps both the teachers and the students with all of their problems. And you can also always go into her if you need help with everything.
So this is the cafeteria where we can buy food and we eat our lunch.
But it's also used for school parties.
Okay, everybody, so today we're gonna have some new seats, so I'd like to, you all get up here so I can pick some new seats for you. So I think Lola, I would like you to sit right here in the front, and Matilda right next to Lola, and maybe you can just go far back into the microphone. Hi. Hi. Now I have a chance to make a new friend. Yes. So you see, I did this because I think when you create a bigger community with people getting to know other people that they might not sit next to with their best friend, they get more comfortable in the class and therefore they can learn better. Okay, so now we need to do some work, but we need to go into groups. So I would like you all to come here up in a line. So the tallest person here and the smallest person here. And then I'll assign the groups. Yes, super. Okay, so you guys are in a group over here, and you two are in a group, and you two are in a group. So you see I did this so they all have someone that they have something in common with, in this case height, so they can talk to each other about it or maybe feel more included in their community in the class, so they feel more comfortable learning. Okay, so, oh guys, this looks very great, but you have to remember the king here maybe? Yes, thank you. Yes. But he looks good. And over here I made it, yeah, you figured out the king by yourself, really great, very good. So you see I do this because then they have to work on the boards by themselves individually, so they get the feeling with the material, but also they get to prove that they learned something, even though they might be a bit shy and not dare to ask questions or answer questions in class. Also, sometimes I make them do videos at home individually, so I can see that they learned the material and understood it, so so they can explain it.
So first we were going to have about adjectives, and now I just want you to go out in groups into the hallway and talk about what you already know about adjectives, and I'm going to come see you guys in like 5 to 10 minutes maybe, alright? Alright guys, it's time to see what you've been working on.
Yes, so basically an adjective in this sentence. Good. It's an adjective.
Yeah, good. Great.
Hey guys, what is the answer to this question? 2 plus 3 times by 5.
Ooh, that is 17 because 3 times 5 is 15 and then you add 2.
Yes, Mia.
The answer is 17 because 3 times 5 is 15 and then you add 2. So you know you have 2 and then you have 2. And when you add those together you get 4. Yes, and that you can see here, you know, because it starts going this way. Anyway, when it goes this way, it means you have a positive thing. When it goes this way, it means you have a negative thing. So it's only, yes, exactly. So when you have task 1, 5, 4, you see in A, you have f and x equals e, and then okay, so we were talking about task 1, 5, 4. Yeah. So in A, you have f and x equals 5, and then you have it.
What is the answer to this problem?
Okay, so the hierarchy says that you have to multiply first because it's over the minus and
Plus?
yes. So 3 times 7 is 21, and then you add 2 to that, which is 23. Yes? Oh, that's easy. The answer is clearly, you start off by adding 7 plus 2, which is, what are you doing? That's 9, and then you times it by 2. No, you don't do that. Like, you have to use everything, like, did you learn that when you was then? What? Like, that's so obvious. Well, the answer is clearly, you start off by adding 7 plus 2, which is 9, and then you times it by 3, no, so 27. You don't do that, you have to use the hierarchy. Can you get how you know? We have this one. Yeah? And that says, like, you have to do this that's on top before you do anything else. So, in this example, you have to multiply 3 with 7, and that's 21, and then you have to add 2 afterwards. So the answer would be in terms of food. Okay, so the higher up it is in the hierarchy, it is more dominant, I guess?
Yeah, so you have to like do them, like solve the problem before you solve the multiply.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're welcome.
So now when you actually saw the students and what they actually did and thought that they need to do, maybe you can actually try to reflect on that there are all of the students, no matter in which kind of the knowledge they are in history or math, actually, and or English for that sake. For example, we have one of the students who told me that she had a lot of problems with English, but in this video she's actually speaking English. So, but we also have a great student's knowledge in English, one of the students who are very, very good at English, and they chose, because the students by themselves are choosing what and how, they chose that he's actually in the front and starting because he's good at it, but she was taking a smaller part. But you cannot, I don't think that you can actually see the difference that she is the student that told me that she's actually not very good at English. So my point is that when students need to do this inclusive and by themselves, they're actually finding their own roles, but they are all improving themselves, also in English, but also on the subject and reflection, what we're actually doing in the school.
My name is Mira, I'm 17 years old. I was born and raised here in Denmark, and my parents are originally from Sri Lanka, this small country next to India. And I'm currently on my second year here at Vejen Gymnasium, and I live here in Vejen as well. And when talking about feeling included as a non-ethnic Danish person, I would like to talk about some of the problematics that I've faced throughout my life, or throughout my, I guess, school years. One being having non-ethnic parents who have learned different ways than I am learning. So different methods, different techniques, and especially in math, I've noticed it's quite different from how my parents have learned in Sri Lanka compared to how we're learning here in Denmark. And so academic help is like not as accessible for non-ethnic people here in Denmark because their parents are not a resource that is valid to use because we're using different methods and techniques here, and our parents use different methods and techniques there, and they're not compatible for the different settings that we're now living in. So that's definitely a challenge that I've faced, throughout my life, I guess. And another thing would be the fact that the word uncultured has like followed me, haunted me, if you will, throughout my life, because I've been called that quite a few times. This is in the settings of cultural things, social things, such as movies, TV shows. My friends would be talking about something and I wouldn't know it, and they would be like, "Oh, you're so uncultured, how do you not know this? Like, you're so uncultured, like, you definitely should know this, you should watch it," and stuff like that. And it's like a very, like, I know the context of it is very funny and stuff like that, but it's these small things that kind of pinpoint like the difference in you and them. Like the fact that you didn't grow up with all these shows or movies kind of distant you from talking about a subject that other people, Danish people, could talk about. So, it's like that type of like contrast that you're kind of facing now because of the way you grew up then. So problems like these are faced throughout life, and it's not really big problems, it's just ways of identifying differences. I think that's my main problem for me, because when people are pinpointing out differences in you and them, it's harder. It's harder to kind of accept yourself as a Danish person or a proud Danish when people pinpoint out these differences that make you not so Danish. And so I think at the end of the day, like when it comes academically or socially or culturally, like it doesn't matter. Like when identifying a difference in someone, make sure to make it positive or make it in a way that is complementing them. If pinpointing a difference out, because it's hard to be objective when talking about someone's differences because it could easily be mistaken into being negative. And so just covering it in this positive light, like acting positive, or the way you say it makes the world of a difference. So kind of like, yeah, differences are good and people should talk about them. And so just saying them in a very positive atmosphere in a good way would definitely make it a lot easier for people to feel more included in groups or settings, those that includes academic settings and social settings.
Hello out there. My name is Hive and I'm from Vine Gymnasium in Denmark. Right now I'm 17 years old. I came to Denmark at the age of 7 years, and I started in the second grade. But in the end of the second grade, and the first problem I stood at was that the teachers and the overhead of the school was talking about if I got the permission to go to the third class. But then they thought that I was ready to move on and to get into the third grade. So I did. And that wasn't a problem because I was new in Denmark and I was just learning the language, but everything was fine and the teachers were supportive and helped me as much as they could. Also because it was the beginning of the immigration in Denmark, so there wouldn't be that hard pressure that they got later in the process of the immigration. Therefore, in 5th and the 6th grade, I went in a normal classroom with Danish classmates and whatever. But then there was a special class for immigrants or people who speak two languages, for help to understand the Danish language better. So I think it was 2 times a week where I was going to that class to learn something more about the Danish language and Danish culture, to integrate on a better perspective. Yeah. I remember in that time where I was at that class, it was pretty difficult for me to understand how it's okay to be different. Cause when I was in a normal class with my Danish people, my classmates, and then a new teacher were opening the door and calling me my name, so I could go to the other class. I felt a bit, like not the same as the others. So that was pretty hard for me in the start. But yeah, I got older and it wasn't a problem anymore. And it was something the teacher could be good at and would help people like me in the smaller ages would be if the teacher talks about it more. Like if it's an open thing to talk about for everybody, it wouldn't be a problem. If I was in my classroom with my Danish classmates, and my teacher spoke about me as a part of them, then I wouldn't feel something else than others when another teacher would open the door and ask me to come out. So yeah, So in my opinion, the teacher could be better to just talk about it and make it something normal in the classroom, that we all are different. Thank you for your time.
And last thing is that we are talking about migration or students who are not originally Danish in our school. Normally, I was that student many years ago, but normally we are trying in the classes not to make a difference. And that means that we are actually trying to see all of the students that they are equal. But if we are actually asking the students about that they are having hard time at home to get help for the school, or because their parents cannot help them with it, or school system, it doesn't have to be knowledge in history or whatever else, but more about the school system, then you have actually then you have some teachers who are actually afraid that they are actually touching something that can be very hard for students to deal with. So this is the reason why we in many years actually many times didn't actually talk about it. We know that students have problems, but we are not talking about it loudly. And I was dealing a few years ago back, I was having a master module that I actually connected to the project at my school with a little bit more than 20 students. Students that I had, but also students that I didn't have on the school, that they came and talked to me. In the beginning it was individual talks to understand who they are. Actually, when they came to Denmark, are they born here? Their parents came here to Denmark? Or is it actually that they came a few years ago back? We talked about their Danish language, because normally all of them are having actually very good Danish. So this, in the first moment, you cannot see that this is a problem. But the problem is when you talk to the students and when you're talking about, for example, history, you have a lot of old words in the language that they actually don't use. They're not talking about Vikings, and they're not proud about Vikings at home, so that they're actually going to the museums as original Danish students would be. So they're having a motivation problem, or we have a problem because we are actually thinking about it, that they need to be motivated just like that. So it's I think it's more about us as a teachers or schools to put it as a question every time we need actually to teach about it. What is it that actually, what kind of students I have here, and what is it that I need to do to motivate them? This is one thing. Another thing is that we actually talked and find out in that research that students who are not very good at their own mother language at home, they have more problems, really a lot of problems in the school, because they don't have nuances of Danish language. So they can have a very good Danish language, like a street language that they're talking, and maybe we are not realizing it as a school, as a teachers, that they have problems. But in the end, when they are reading history, for example, they have problems with understanding deeply in it. Another thing is also that we have different kind of expectation. For example, a lot of those students who are coming from other places originally, or their parents are coming, it doesn't have to be them, they're actually having similar things. For example, we have a lot of people from Sri Lanka in this area where I live, who are going into school. And that means that they have understanding in the family, that family is most important, that they are actually holding to each other, also because they are not, they are a long way from homes. Parents probably came here to get a better future for their children, but many times they're actually working very badly, and they do all that because they want to help their children to get better future. So what they are learning also, their children, is we cannot help you, but the teacher and the school will and can help you. They are also learning that in our culture, in Sri Lanka or somebody else, it's also very important that you have respect for the for the grown-ups, for the parents, grown-ups, but also authority, so the teacher and the school. So the students are coming to our school not wanting to questioning the school. They are actually very polite and very good students, young people who actually don't ask a question about our authority. But the problem is that when you, in the Danish educational system, actually expect critical thinking, then you are expecting students to be critical. And it's a huge problem because they are from the home getting to know that this is the right way of being, and from us it's something else, and we are not even saying it in the school, we're just expecting it. Many times it's something is said, but it's not really clearly said. So the question is, when the student is actually to realizing that, or are they not realizing? Are they actually just trying to be nice, smiling? You have a lot of, if I put it in the boxes, I can see from me a lot of very nice girls from other places than original Danish. Beautiful girls with a lot of makeup and everything, and they are just smiling. They are really, really beautiful, but this is not what we are giving them grades on. So when they don't understand what is actually what they are asked for to do, they actually just smile. And it took me years before this to understand what is actually happening. But this is the question is that we actually need to understand more where they are coming from. For example, for those two students that I have in interview, one is from Sri Lanka and is born here. The other one is from Syria and coming here as a child. The difference in families, they are maybe looking almost the same because they are having black skin. And if we don't know about the culture differences, then we have a huge problem, because I can see already now, and I know them only for 2 months or something like that, that they are great students, both of them, but they are so different of way of thinking, and most of it is actually coming from the cultural background and understanding. There are some other things that I'm actually learned in this research of mine, and I actually was writing an article about it, and hope that we will translate it to English so that you can actually see that. Yes, thank you.